What's
right,
up,
cool.
man? How's
What's
it
up?
going? I'm doing
Doing
good,
good.
man.
Good.
How's it going? Quarantine life, COVID. How you living, man?
Uh, it was a little rough. We had to close the gym down and could not do any training whatsoever, which was, good and bad. I co-own the gym with Jay Clip, so obviously from a business standpoint, it could have been pretty bad. Thankfully, a lot of our members stuck with us, and we just did a lot of stuff around the gym to update the gym and put some, add some decor, and we kind of updated some stuff in the strength and conditioning room and stuff like that. Um, Gave a lot of our fighters the chance to just kind of take a mental break and a physical break. It's a tough sport because there isn't a season for us. Like, there's been so many times where I'm training for a fight, I have the fight, and then I think like I can breathe, but then all of a sudden I get booked something like 5 weeks later, and then you never know like when your break is.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I've had times where there's been long periods of time, like 6 months between fights, but it's not like I was told that ahead of time.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
always doing it in hindsight. Like, so for months and months, you're like training, like you don't know when a fight's gonna come up, especially when you're in the UFC. Like, I've probably taken half of my fights on like 3 weeks notice or less.
Man.
So, but I mean, I'm always in the gym because I'm coaching and stuff like that. But it's tough because you never know when something could be on the horizon. So it was good to just kind of like, you know what, there's going to be nothing for a little bit. So a chance to heal up some things and kind of reset a little bit and then get back to work once we were able to get training again.
Dude, for sure, man. First of all, I want to give a shout out to your gym. It's Pura Vida, right? Pure
Pure Vida.
Life, right? Pure
Yep.
Life. I
Yeah.
love it.
So our instructor that we got the gym like kind of passed down to us when he moved out of state. He's from Costa Rica, and so that's like a really popular phrase that they say in Costa
Yeah.
Rica. You think about like aloha in Hawaii. So
Okay.
that's what we named the gym.
But yeah, man, I like the way you're approaching this. Mental break, like I love that because a lot of people get really stressed out, but looking at it in a positive light is so important, especially for fighters, man. And you're an owner and a coach yourself, so it's like you never get a break. You're always on duty, right?
Yeah,
Former fighter, beast. I mean, we can't
still
forget
fighting,
that.
still fighting. It's just,
Oh, I thought
yeah.
a former UFC fighter. My bad. Yeah,
Well, we'll see about that. I'm just
really.
in between contracts. They're signing a lot of people. If I'm ready to go, I think I can get a contract. So
I think you
I'm
can.
staying ready. I'm healthy again. With my last fight and after, I had a lot of injuries. I blew up my left knee and I had a knee surgery. So that kind of took me all of, my last fight was March of 19. So that took me like all the rest of 19 to get better from. And then we moved in, we bought a building for our gym. We moved our gym, expanded the gym. That took a while. We did all the construction work ourselves. So it was like right when we opened the gym from doing all the construction work, then COVID hit. So it's like, oh man,
Man.
like,
But you still had more improvements in the strength and conditioning room, right? So
yeah, yeah.
good time. I
Um,
mean, use that
yeah,
time.
we're,
Yeah.
we're always making good use of the time and stuff like that. And we're back training and all that with a lot more restrictions, of course, right now. But we're back in the gym and everything's going good. We got Montel ready for his fight that
Yeah.
he had recently, and then LFA has been putting some events together, and they're going to have our guys on. So we're getting the fight team back rolling again.
Yeah, I mean, with restrictions, how are you working with restrictions? Like, what is it like? Certain people at a time, certain people per room, like that same kind of stuff.
Yep, yep. For a while, it was like a lot of distance between people, which when we first got back to training, it was basically just like running workout classes because you can't really grapple and keep 6 feet apart from each other. So,
Yeah.
at first it was like a lot of space. Then once we were able to kind of start training with each other again, we're still like wiping everything down all the
Oh yeah.
time. Instead of cleaning the mats before the night starts and after, we're doing it in between every single class. So we
Yeah.
had to, and everybody's like chipped in, to help out, like wipe everything down and the mats and everything in between classes and stuff. And, face coverings and questionnaire at the door and temperature checks and air purifiers and all sorts of stuff. So,
I mean, for those that don't know, wiping down like a wrestling or Brazilian jiu-jitsu like gym, it's not something easy. Like it's nasty. Like it's really disgusting. Like I've seen some videos where it's like just wet. Like it's just like nasty. So that's
A lot
time
of times
consuming,
we
man.
gotta, because it's summertime, you know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? And it's a lot of people sweating and stuff. So it's almost like we gotta use dry material first to just dry
Yeah.
everything, and then we get to clean it, and then we just let it air dry. So we've had to like really stretch our schedule out. We used to just go like class, 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 and now it's like a class, and then we've got a half an hour for the mats to get and everything to get completely cleaned down, and then for it to dry, and then the next class starts. So we're
So
just working with it, man.
do you think like you're a coach and everything, do you think that it's possible to get ready for a 5 round fight in this time? Do you think to be fully ready, like fully prepared?
Um, I mean, it would be tough, but we've seen it. They've had title fights recently, I didn't really see anyone that didn't look themselves. You know what I mean? It's not like all of a sudden the fourth and fifth round, the two fighters were just dogging it and looking. Can I
Yeah.
can I swear? Sorry, I was about to
Yeah, I
swear.
mean, yeah, you can, yeah.
Okay.
You
All
can
right. Yeah.
say whatever, bro.
It's not like they were looking like shit or anything. You know what I mean? So, man, that Max Holloway, Alex Volkanovski fight, like they did it. So it's possible. It's possible. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you'd have to do a lot of sprints, man. Sprints will get you ready.
Sprints. Yeah,
Yeah.
sprints, like the hormonal response from sprints, like, dude, like explosiveness. So honestly, like that's like my go-to thing now. Like I'm not a fighter or anything, but that's like when you don't have a squat rack, when you don't have like dumbbells or anything, like, dude, sprints are so good. And you'll see progress, Like go uphill sprint, you'll be dead. Like it's like you never worked out.
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
especially like a little rest, do it again. Little rest, do it again. And
Oh
just keep
man.
pacing yourself like that. That'll get you in shape.
So are you in charge of strength and conditioning and like MMA stuff, or is it just you have
We
your own
do
thing?
we do have a strength and conditioning coach at the gym, and he kind of runs like his own separate business out of our gym, and he works with a lot of our high level athletes. He's also has a lot of his own clients. I work with him all the time. Some of our amateurs and stuff that um, we're always here to like help people kind of come up with like a basic plan to help get them started. And then when
Yeah,
they really want to take it to that next level, we have a coach here that they work with.
I understand. What about nutrition? How does that go?
He also helps with nutrition as well.
Okay.
Um, I've got a little bit of a background, but if somebody's got like a kind of a little bit more complicated situation, I'll kind of pass it off on him.
Yeah. So that's actually interesting, man. Like, so you kind of there aren't a lot of coaches that do it all, right? Because you're a head coach, fighter, nutritionist, like a well balanced coach. Like, there's like Faraz Sahabi, right? Like, there's some like MMA. I think it'll be fully advanced when you have one coach that could teach you kickboxing, like jujitsu, wrestling, everything, right? It has
That's
like the day. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I'm just saying like that's what I think helps separate our gym a little bit from other gyms. We really focus on blending the disciplines together. So it's not like I've got this one discipline that I'm kind of biased towards, and I'm not afraid. I don't want to let go of that discipline that I grew up doing. Like from the beginning when I first started doing jujitsu, it was like I of course I did gi jujitsu. I earned my black belt, but a lot of the jiu-jitsu focus was like around what works in a self-defense situation or an MMA fight, like when strikes are thrown. Like even my jiu-jitsu game in the gi as well, um, is heavily based around like a real situation. You know,
Mm,
I'm not like really big in the sport jiu-jitsu
yeah.
style, and my striking as well. Like if you're just purely one style or the other, you're going to be susceptible to things, whether it's a takedown or whether it's kicks or low kicks or whatever. So, I always learn my striking, like being aware that I could get low kicked, being aware that I could get knee to the face, being aware that I could get taken down. So, and then, getting all of our disciplines to blend together, transitioning between striking and grappling and wall work and all and jujitsu and all that kind of stuff.
So as a coach, right, and a BJJ guy, right? What do you think is more important, starting out with a wrestling base or starting out with a jiu-jitsu base? Because we might have that welterweight title next between Kamaru and what's the guy's name? Gilbert Burns, right?
Um, yep,
Yeah, and he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and Kamaru's a just straight up wrestler. We don't see Kamaru really submit guys like that. So what do you
right.
think is more important to start out with as a base?
I think to start out with, it's probably more important to have a wrestling background.
Yeah,
I would think.
yeah,
Because one thing, you're used to that grind, and that's what it takes to get anywhere in the sport. Man, it's a grind. You know, like you're gonna have to deal with some adversity, and there's so many skills to know. You have to show up to practice a lot. If you're just kind of one of like these hobbyists that like, yeah, I want to get to the UFC, but I'm just gonna train like 2 or 3 practices a week, like it's not gonna happen. You know,
yeah,
so like wrestlers just know how to grind. Like a lot of our collegiate wrestlers are the guys that are here the most. They just look at it like I got to show up every day, you know. And besides that, when we're talking the skills, I mean, if you can dictate where the fight takes place, that's a big thing, right? Like a
oh,
jiu-jitsu
yeah,
guy, the fight every single round that fight's going to start standing. And a lot of jiu-jitsu people, they don't focus on their takedowns as much. And if you can't get the fight to the ground, well, you're not going to be able to use your jiu-jitsu skills. You know, if you
yeah.
teach a really top level wrestler like just some submission defense, they can win a lot of fights. You know.
We see that too. Like we see, people try to like guillotine Kamaru or like guillotine Khabib. Like, dude, they know this. Like they're ready for it. They
Yeah.
know they understand the position so well that they don't need to have a jiu-jitsu black belt, you know?
Another thing that is you're talking about like that kind of matchup, and now Gilbert is top notch, top
Oh yeah.
level. You know,
Oh
he
yeah.
doesn't do these kind of mistakes. But a lot of jujitsu players, when they start fighting, they'll get in those situations where it's a scramble, and they will accept their back. They'll like concede top position and play bottom. And if you play bottom in a fight, you're gonna get wrecked. Like
Yeah.
top is king, and all of our jujitsu is based around, you know, we've got really aggressive guards here. Um, a lot of people got really good guards, but when that's not working out, like we get underhooks and we get back up to our feet. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we're
Yeah.
not going to sit there and play guard all night, and we're not going to try to re-guard and stuff like that. Like we're trying to get to our knees and wrestle.
Yeah, it's crazy. Me and Zach, me and sorry, Johnny Case, we were just talking about that. We are like, yo, they say that like, Tony could win a fight off his back. You cannot win 5 rounds on your back. You're not gonna win the fight. Like you're just
No,
not
it's
going
not
to.
happening. Not
Yeah.
in this day and age. You know, I mean, unless they switched up the judging, the scoring criteria, and were a lot more specific about that area. Like the scoring is so gray right now.
Yeah.
You know, scoring's all over the place, and it, it's 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 nearly impossible nowadays to win off your back. I mean, you know, of course, unless you're submitting someone, but
Submitting. Yeah.
if you're just trying to like control them and land elbows and punches off your back, the damage just isn't there for the judges.
It's exhausting too, having a heavy guy on top of you the whole like dude, 20 it like they're guys that spend like eight, maybe the first round on their back, and they don't come out the same fighter. The different fighter when they come out the second round. Like they look defeated after the first round. We've seen that before. Like
Yeah,
the notion that you could win a fight, like, oh, this guy's good off his back, so he'll give this guy some problems. It'll go 5 rounds though. It's like, it can't happen, right? Like you just
yeah,
can't.
and you have so much more gravity on your side, and everything's, you know, you're able to get that distance that you need to land good strikes when you're on top. When you're on bottom, even when you're landing, you could land numbers, but like there's really nothing on them that much. It's more just an annoyance for the person on top.
Yeah,
I had one fighter in a fight that was just like constant striking off of his back. He wasn't like trying to get up or get out. He wasn't trying to submit me. He was just trying to like punch me off of his back, and it was so fucking annoying to me that it made me posture up more and like want to smash him with elbows even harder
yeah,
because he was just annoying me so much with his little like baby punches to my ears and stuff. So all it
yeah.
did was make me like more pissed off, and it made the fight worse for him by him doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only thing that like striking wise you could have off your back is elbows. Like we've seen people get cut up from the bottom. Like that's I understand that. But you're not
Yep.
gonna finish a fight and you have to get a submission, man. And I'm happy you say this. I'm happy as a jiu-jitsu guy you say this. I'm happy you say this because like the
Now,
notion.
again, if you're mixing in that, maybe a jujitsu person, they're just grabbing a wrist and they're trying to stuff to a triangle or something like that. Well, like you see that coming from a mile away. But if you are using some strikes, O'Day Osborne on our team, he's got a really aggressive, good guard. He's submitted a lot of people and stuff, and he submits people in the gym all the time. But he does make use of his elbows and his punches. He gets you worried about that, boom, and then the triangles and arm bars and stuff start popping up. So if you just are one way or the other, it's not as good. But again, like that
Yeah.
effectiveness, using your strikes to set up the submissions, is something that we emphasize.
Yeah, I think jujitsu is like honestly the most interesting aspect of MMA, in my opinion. It's just like so cool to me. But the thing is though, in like a 5 round fight, right? Round four, even after like round two, when it gets slippery, right? Like how do you deal with that? Like how do you deal with like, grabbing that leg and grabbing that, it's so slippery. Like you see guys not even be able to get a takedown, you know? So how do you deal with that as a coach or in
I
fighting?
think I think a lot of people, it goes back to the way that they train. So a lot of our wrestlers, college wrestlers, it's like an unwritten rule or something for them. Like they show up to practice all the time in like sweatpants and a sweatshirt and wrestling shoes. And I always tell those guys, like, take all that shit off, because when you're so used to grappling and doing MMA in general, whether it's striking, grappling, whatever we're doing, and you're used to all that clothing, that's a lot of friction. It's like
Yep.
you have a gi on all the time. And even though the person can't grab it like they can a gi, there's a lot of friction there. And you get used to training that way. And you have to try to mimic the fight as much as possible. So there's a lot of times on Saturdays where the ground's slippery, we're slippery, and we just encourage it. Like, we tell the guys, take your shirts off, because there's a big difference when just wearing a t-shirt and grappling with somebody versus with their shirt off.
Yeah.
I've
Oh
heard it
yeah.
before where I've been in fights and early on, well, we were all basically, Jake and I were like self-taught when it came to MMA
Yeah.
at the early stages, and we've brought in great coaches on board on our team and everything like that. But when I was having my first amateur fights, like I just kind of learned a lot of this the hard way. There was some camps where all my sparring, all my drilling was done with boxing gloves, and then all of a sudden I get in the fight and these small MMA gloves are coming at me, and I'm like, whoa, like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really threw me off. Then from that point on, it was like, I need to spar with MMA training gloves. You know what I mean? And those early lessons we learned. There was a fight where I was trying to cut a lot of weight, so I was putting on a ton of layers of clothes, and I got in the fight, and there was a ton of grappling, and he was just like slipping out of everything. And it's like I got to train shirtless sometimes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we try to get our fighters to mimic the real thing as much as possible.
So we see now that a lot of guys are taking short notice fights, right? Like you were one of
Yep.
those guys. Like you know more about that than most people. But guys have these long training camps, brutal training camps, and like they have their best rounds in the gym. Like that's a fact, right? Now
Totally.
we see guys like Justin Gaethje come out and put on the performance of their lives off of like not like Gaethje had a decent training camp, not a full training camp, but do you think that like that overtraining culture is like a thing in MMA? Like guys are just killing themselves in the gym, working out. Like you hear about guys like, oh, this guy works out 6 hours a day. It's like, yo, that's not how. Like, how do you do that? And like, how does a coach not tell their student that like, dude, you gotta take it easy. You're gonna have the best performance of your life. Like what's your take on that?
Oh man, yeah, I got a lot to say about this. Overtraining is definitely a thing in MMA. I think a big reason why it happens is because there's a lot of different facets to MMA, right? We're not just boxing, we're not just wrestling. We got all this stuff going on. So it's like you got to get your strength and conditioning in, right? You're also trying to make a weight class, so you're on probably like restricted calories,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you do your work. You're getting in this kind of work, you're getting in that kind of work, and then I think what people do is they're like, oh man, it's been like 2 days since I worked my boxing. So I got to do boxing tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm going to get behind on my boxing. And it's like, yeah, but you just like wrestled and you just did wall work and like there's so many different facets that I think people, they want to stay on top of everything. And by doing that, you overtrain, you know?
Oh
And
yeah.
I think, especially as you get older and more experienced, like you just need to sharpen that blade and just add little tools to the toolbox, like I already know what I'm doing in there, so I don't need to train 6 hours a day to feel like I'm ready. We're only fighting for 15 minutes, that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's not a 45-minute long boxing match, you know what I mean? Like it's a 15-minute long fight, unless you're going for a title. Well, you know good for you for that. But
True. Yeah.
you know, it's not a marathon. It's a sprint. I know a lot of guys that had a lot of success limiting their training practices to like short durations. Like I know
Mm.
some people that they train hard for 30 minutes and then that's it. And then
Yeah.
maybe later in the day they train for like another hard 30 minutes. And I'm not talking like, oh, kind of sit around and talk and drill this move and whatever. No, like they're like drilling, like
Oh,
drill, drill,
grind.
drill, drill,
Yeah.
drill, drill, drill for like 30 hard minutes, and then that's it. And well, somebody might be like, yeah, they're only working out for like an hour to like an hour and a half a day. That's it. And it's like, yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah. Because
Otherwise you're
stress
overtraining.
levels, like your stress
Oh,
cortisol levels go up, like you're
pretty
beating your
hard to
body
lift
up.
weight. Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You get like, yeah, like especially like stress levels. Like they say that you should keep it to, if you're gonna work out for an hour a day, make it 30-30 hard, no distractions, and get out of there. Like
Yep.
fuel your body and everything. And on a calorie deficit, you can't be grinding like that. That's so bad for you, right?
Yep. Oh,
So
I would think.
why do people do this then? Like, why do coaches let that happen?
I think it's a confidence booster. So we've had a couple of our fighters that we thought were overtraining for a fight, and had to have sit down talks with them. Hey, they're like, all right, are we ready for a pad session? And it's like, no, actually, you're gonna go home right fucking now and
Yeah.
go get some rest. And I don't want to see you for at least 24 to 48 hours. And they're like, what? Like, I gotta get my pads in. I didn't get in yesterday. I gotta get it in today. And it's like, relax. Like, I think it's to give them confidence. Like they did everything they could to prepare for the fight, but that isn't always the work portion. That's also the rest portion. Like sometimes you have to let things marinate, not only for your body to recoup and recover, but also for your mental. Like if you're taking in too much information all the time and you're working on this and you're working on that, like nothing's gonna stick. You're just throwing a bunch of
Yeah.
shit to the wall and it's not nothing sticking. You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather have you focus on one thing, get that down, go home, let it marinate, let it sink in, come back tomorrow well rested, ready to push, ready to go, whatever, ready to work, stay focused, and rather than just like putting in all these half-ass practices for 6 hours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that shows a lot about the mindset of a fighter, man. Like not working out is harder than working out, right? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. But that's the kind of discipline you need, right? To make it far into the sport. But that's the kind of
And
coach you need.
who else tends to do that a lot is people that don't train as much when there isn't a fight.
Oh yeah.
So all of a sudden a fight comes up and they feel like they got to do all this to get ready. Whereas if you just, now you're always going to ramp it up to get ready for that fight. But if you're starting from ground zero, you got a lot of work to do. They feel like they have a lot of work to do. Now all of a sudden you go from nothing to overtraining. It's all bad, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to be down here. You don't want to be overtraining. You want to stay right in that zone. You want to train consistently. So then when there's that fight, you just ramp it up. You have the fight. That's it.
Add on to progress, right? You just,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, that's, and I think gym culture is actually a big it's a big way to it's a great way to get fighters out of camp to still be working, like getting their buddies ready for a fight and everything. They're not going to go hard. They're going to be eating, like they're probably going to be in a surplus, right? They're going to be putting on weight or whatever, but they're still staying active, sparring, dude, that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah, you said it too. I mean, right? I mean, if those same people are there getting you ready for your fight, you owe it to them to get them ready for their fights, you know?
Yeah.
And back before the gym grew to where it is now, where we've got good people, several at like each increment all the way up through the weight classes. Um, you know, when the gym was a lot smaller and we were trying to get each other ready for fights, it was like we had to show up. Otherwise, people didn't have anyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I had to get in there with a heavyweight to get him ready for his fight. And then I had to get in there with a 35er to get him ready. And they, you know what I mean? Like we just didn't have that many people to go around. Like if I didn't show up, they wouldn't have that partner. You know what I mean?
You felt that pace and power, man. That's tough.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I'd rather deal with somebody bigger than me than somebody smaller.
Dude, Muhammad Ali used to spar with lighter weights. You know,
Yeah,
they push the pace, right?
you get like a 45er that is just like scrambly as hell and hard to take down, and he's got cardio and he's got hands like super like tons of speed in his hands. It's like holy shit, man! Like
Oh yeah.
you're a handful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like slow your ass down, calm down. Like let's just like get off of me, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Like the
yeah.
the guys down there, man, they don't get tired, man. Like it's crazy. It's
No,
crazy.
I'd much rather, you know, deal with a guy that walks around at 200 pounds rather than somebody that walks around at 170 pounds.
Oh
For
yeah.
me, but I don't know.
No, it makes sense. Like that
Yeah.
definitely makes sense. So nutrition wise, right? I'm like fascinated by this stuff because I feel like in nutrition, there's like to every good side, there's a bad side. Like that's just like you go down like the wormhole of nutrition, and it's like, man, I can't seem to get like a solid answer on anything. And especially if you're preparing somebody for a fight, like you need to get it perfect because every little thing in camp, every little thing counts. Like overfeed them with carbs, maybe they're carb sensitive, fats, like everything. How do you deal with it? Like give like a little overview because like it's like a huge topic, and of course you can't cover everything, but like what's your how do you
Yeah,
kind of go about this?
sure. So everyone's a little different. I'll tell you what I do, just to give you an example. Um, Basically, if it wasn't natural, like you could think like if God didn't make it, then I don't need it.
Yeah.
So if a person had to like put this together in order for me to eat it, then I don't need it. So um, you think about like breads and pastas, like that doesn't just grow out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
That somebody had to process that to make it into a loaf of bread. So then I don't need it.
Okay.
I also stay away from dairy. Um, I feel like my body just is way less inflamed when I cut dairy out.
I'm taking
So
notes, man. Yeah, I'm taking
yeah,
notes right now. So yeah, keep going.
yeah. So I don't no cheeses or milk or anything like that. I do
What about
consume
yogurt?
eggs.
What about
What's that?
yogurt? Yogurt?
Okay, so Greek yogurt, I limit, but I will have once in a while.
Okay.
Usually in the morning, I stick to whole eggs. I don't do egg whites. I want that. I need that fat,
Yeah.
and it's usually when I have some fruit as well. Usually like blueberries or a banana.
Mm.
Um, that is if I don't fast. If I have an early workout, I don't like to eat and then go work out. I kind of feel sluggish. I'd rather
Yeah.
get a workout. If I'm gonna have an early workout, I like to do that on an empty stomach. So what I'll do is I'll get up, I'll drink like a whole glass of water, and I'll have black coffee, and then I'll get that workout in, and I won't eat until later in the day. So I kind of like use that as a little intermittent fasting
Yeah.
time
What
period.
kind of workout? What kind of workout exactly do you do?
And
Like,
any well, usually I'll do like strength and condition. I never do skills training early in the morning because we just don't have class, and good
yeah,
luck getting a fighter to get in here at 9 a.m. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So or 8 a.m. So if I do a workout, an early one, it's usually a strength and conditioning workout, and that could be anything depending on where I am. If I'm out of camp or in camp or how far out from a fight, but a lot of times I'll do my strength and conditioning. So say it's like at 8 or 9 a.m., I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'm just going to
Yeah.
have black coffee. So I don't want to eat something even little, because then that's going to spark my insulin to start
Right.
kicking in. And that's going to shut down like the human growth hormone and stuff like that. So I'll go into that workout fasting, black coffee. I won't eat until later. However, if I'm not going to get my strength and conditioning workout in until like noon or 1 o'clock or something, then I'll eat breakfast, and I'll
Yeah,
do like
because I was just about to say, like, just like, gyms are kind of dangerous right now, right? Like public gyms. So what I do, some of my buddies now, we mask up and everything. We go 6 in the morning, 6 in the morning, right at sunrise. We go to the gym, right? Nobody's there. It's just us. Wipe everything down, everything. But I'm not gonna eat at 6 a.m. because I do intermittent fasting, and it's like
Yep.
I don't want to have my last meal at like in the middle of the day, So it's like what we do is, a lot of water, of course. You have to do a lot of water or you feel like crap. And then, but I've heard like, people in like the community are like, the bros. I don't know if it's a bro thing or not. It's like you're gonna lose muscle or you're gonna like break down your body on an empty stomach. Is that any truth to that or no?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you're getting real extreme with your intermittent fasting, like say you're only eating within a 3 or 4 hour time window every day, and you're like a professional athlete and you're training multiple times a day, that I don't know if that's the best route to go.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're gonna need some fuel on board to get you through those workouts. If you're working out like 4 times a week and you're doing an intermittent fasting program, I would encourage it.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So when you do break your fast, right? How much after your workout do you break the fast?
Um, it depends on when I had that workout, but I try to, if I decide like, okay, this is going to be like a fasting morning, I
That's
try
what I
to
meant. Yeah.
push it. I try to push it well into the day.
Wow. So, sorry, are you talking about the workout or the meal?
The the meal.
Okay, so like let's say 9 in the morning you work out, right?
Yeah.
Then around what time would you have your first meal? Around what time?
Uh, Early afternoon.
Wow, man, how do you do that? Like,
I'm just busy during the day.
oh, that's probably true. Yeah, yeah. I go to the gym, come back home, so that's probably like the fridge is right there. But I mean,
Yeah.
I know that I'm sure that you have to be very specific on what you break your fast with because your insulin, you don't want to spike that up like that, right? I mean, you
Right.
probably what blueberries, things like that.
Yeah, I also I'll try to break it with something like high fat and high protein so that my
Okay.
body like thinks, okay, this is what I need to burn. Like I need to burn some fat. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I'll do like chicken thigh with avocado kind of stuff and
mm.
like some vegetables. And that's usually what I break the fast with, is something a little bit higher fat, higher protein.
So for your carbs, right? Like fruit especially, right? What's your go-to fruit? Because I'm just a college student. Fresh fruits are expensive, man. Like they're expensive. You got to stick with one, or that's your wallet. So what's your? Because I love dates. Like dates, like those. Like I think I've defeated a sugar craving with dates. I love
Oh yeah.
dates, man.
Oh yeah, dates are
Culturally,
great.
that's our culture. Like I
Yeah.
love it. So I know that they're really sweet though. So it's like, does that really make a difference? Because I know they're loaded with energy, but are they going to spike my insulin like that?
Dates specifically, man, you're asking me some tough questions.
I'm sorry, man. You're the
Um,
expert, bro.
no, this is good. This is good.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure about like their glycemic index.
Yeah.
You know, I eat dates 100% after every weight cut. Like from when I weigh in until I fight, like I'm consuming dates like
Potassium,
crazy.
is that why?
Oh, potassium,
Yeah.
like especially right after I weigh in, like you're not gonna want to sit down to like a full meal right away.
Yeah.
Like you feel like shit, your stomach's all shrunk up, you can only eat a little bit at a time. Like usually the first little bit of solid food I have is dates.
That's crazy because like, I'm Muslim, right? That's my religion, and we fast in Ramadan, and when we break our fast, dates and water. That's what we do. Dates and water. And like I see it, right? Like I see the benefits because dates can revive you. I'm not kidding. Like after a long day of no food, no water, dates is like it's crazy, man. So
It's a miracle, and it works quick, you know.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good because then you could probably eat a big meal after you have like dates, right? Like you're
Oh
digesting it
yeah.
and you're getting it
Oh
going,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. You're not
Yeah.
gonna get full on them, you know. Um, but yeah, then like a lot of the other stuff, I don't eat a lot of red meat. Um,
Slows you down, right? A little bit.
it does. I feel like there's a happy medium. So I
Mm.
don't know if anyone else has kind of felt like this if they've done what I've done. But if I stay away from red meat for like 6 weeks, I just kind of feel like lethargic. So, but if I eat red meat all the time, I'm gonna feel like weighed down and lethargic as well. So
Yeah.
it's like a happy medium. It's like getting that iron and that good, like that animal fat and animal protein in you, but then at the same time, and so like what I do is I do it once a week.
Mm.
So I'll eat.
That's what George Lockhart said. He said the same
I'll,
thing.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he said the
So
same
I'll
thing.
do
Yeah.
like there's a guy that I train with quite a bit. His grandfather owns a bison farm in
Yeah.
between
Wow.
Chicago and Milwaukee. So I'll get a bunch of bison steaks from him, and I really enjoy that during training camp. So I got a fight coming up, say like 6 weeks out or whatever. Boom, like say it's a Friday night, and I'm gonna spar hard on Saturday. I'll have like a bison steak on, my Friday night dinner, and that
Oh yeah.
that helps me out.
Yeah, like things like bison steak, like wild caught salmon. Oh my God, like that fuels you.
Yeah, I eat a ton of fish,
What's your favorite? What's your go-to fish?
salmon.
Oh yeah.
I
Like
probably two nights a week. You know,
yeah.
two out of the 7 nights during the week, it's salmon, specifically salmon.
Yeah, you know, I never actually liked salmon, but like my dad, he got it from, a while ago, he got it from like a farmer's market, right? Like wild caught, like a fat piece of fish. You cook it and just the fat is just oozing out. It's like, no, this is the real deal. Like a fish is a hustler, like
Oh yeah,
loaded with nutrients, loaded with fat, and it's delicious too. Like it's
oh, yeah.
delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can season it up however you want. Sometimes if it's early in camp, I'll do like a garlic type,
Yeah.
little olive oil type thing, and then
Oh yeah.
sometimes I do like a real spicy kind of Cajun seasoning on it. So you
You gotta
can
do
you can
that.
do all sorts of stuff with.
Yeah, you gotta do that after training though, because you eat salmon before training, you're not training, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It's good recovery.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But also eggs, I think eggs are like, people, everybody says have eggs. But I think that there's a specific kind, like the free range, pasture raised, like the orange, deep orange yolk, right? I'm sure you
Yeah,
get that, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, in Wisconsin, it's not hard to come by. So
Oh man. Here, man, you
yeah.
can't find them. Like you go to Costco and it's like a mixture of like bright yellow and like white. It's like, what am I eating right now? It's like that you crack open the egg and it's like the egg white comes out as like water splashed
Oh
all over the
yeah,
pan. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
these are the like mass production eggs, It's like I don't know. And I know they say the color of the yolk is dependent on the diet of the chicken, right? So it's
Yeah,
like the more orange, dark orange it is, like the less crap the chicken was fed,
sure.
these
Yeah, I
little
mean,
things.
with everything, you're gonna want to stay as organic as possible, especially with the way food's made nowadays. It's not like when my parents were kids and, they just every vegetable they ate was like out of their grandmother's garden, and
Yeah.
and fruits were only available when it was in season. Now it's
Mm.
like you could eat any kind of fruit any time of the year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? 'Cause
You could get a pomegranate in the summer, man. Like, why? Why?
how's that work
Yeah.
out?
Crazy, crazy. I mean, yeah, like that's what I meant, in nutrition. Like you go down the wormhole and it's like, oh yeah, eat this, but it's like there's all these caveats, all these constraints, everything. Like,
And there's all these different diets and fads that are out there, but you gotta pay attention to what you're doing. I mean, if you're a high level athlete, especially in our sport where there's a lot of explosiveness, you go to defend a takedown, you're everything in your body is like working hard quickly. you're throwing a hard body kick or something, it's important. You need carbs.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think keto is a diet for a professional MMA fighter. Um, maybe for other people, they've had gains with it, and good for them. But I think MMA fighters need carbs, but you got to pay attention to the right carbs. You don't
You
want to be
know,
eating pizza crust for your carbs. You want I
what are
eat
your
a lot
go-to
of
carbs?
I eat a lot of rice,
White
sweet
rice?
potatoes, sweet potatoes, red potatoes. I used to stick to brown rice, and I don't feel like there's a big difference. I eat a lot of jasmine rice.
Same.
So I eat a lot of jasmine rice, red potatoes, sweet potatoes, um, fruit early
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
day if I do fruit. And
What about like a good sweetener replacement? Like what about real maple syrup? Like let's say you use that, like you have a craving. Does it really make a difference? Or is it still gonna just shoot up that blood sugar level? Because it has a high glycemic index, I'm sure, right? But it's not as high as like processed sugar, right? Or what about brown sugar? Things like this. Like, what's your opinion?
it, once in a while, I think it's good to mix up in your system, like give your body that little bit,
Yeah,
because people like your body will get used to whatever you're doing, and it's going to plateau. So occasionally you kind of got to like get outside the box a little bit. Sometimes if somebody's like dieting so freaking hard and they're like super to the T and they're working out hard all the time, and all of a sudden they just get burnt out, and even they have a rest day and they still like they wake up in the morning and their heart rate is still pretty high, it'll be like, dude, go eat a piece of cake,
yeah.
like shitty artificial cake, and then let's go get a workout in. You know what I mean? Like, you just need to hit that reset button once in a while and get your body guessing a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it'll get used to it. It'll find a way to kind of just find a balance with whatever you're eating. So you got to keep it guessing here and there.
Oh yeah, like I
Um,
asked because like I have a sweet tooth, right? I have a sweet tooth, but my mom, she makes these like black bean brownies, and they're like, I don't understand, they're so good. Like real cocoa powder, real. I'm like,
oh,
this shouldn't be good. You had those? Have you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had them.
I give them to my friends, and they're like, yo, this is amazing. I'm like, I could live off of this, man. I don't need a dessert anymore. I don't need it.
There's so many shitty substitutes out there, but those are good.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my god. And it's like fill. You get your protein, you get your carbs. You could do chickpeas too. Honestly, I think chickpeas are low key better in
I
the
have not
brownies.
tried chickpeas.
You have to try it out. Gotta try
Okay.
it out, man. This is the I learned so much from you today. This is the little bit I'll give you. You gotta try the chickpeas.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, like another thing that like I saw this video the other day of like Faraz Sahabi talking about George St. Pierre's fasting, right? And he's like, this guy does a 23-hour fast every day and works that two times a day. What? Like how? Like
I
does
don't know,
that is,
man.
is he just a
I,
freak? Like is he
I
just a
would
freak?
wonder if I would wonder if he actually kept that going, or if that was just like a period of time that he was doing that. Because that's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, he said, like Faraz was saying, he's like, I started a couple of days ago because George said it increases testosterone levels, growth hormone levels. Like he
Yeah.
felt like a beast, but that's just George, right? Like George is George, man.
And everyone's different, maybe I can kind of tell just by like his frame and stuff a little bit. He probably was never like a big eater,
Yeah.
and so he can kind of push those limits a little bit. Like my mom, like I've never seen her sit down to like a meal. Like
Same.
while she's cooking, she kind of nibbles, and then while everyone else is eating her dinner, she just kind of like nibbles, and then that's it. And it's like,
Yeah.
do you ever eat? Like she's not a big eater. Whereas my dad, on the other hand, is like me. Like we can put some food down. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So I don't know. Everyone's different, and
Hmm.
you
Just
got to get to
genetics,
know
like.
you.
Oh yeah. And like, what's your thoughts on Yoel Romero, man? What's your thoughts on that guy? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, do you think he's natural? Like, do you think?
I think he's natural now, but I don't think he was natural his entire adult life, or even in
Okay.
his teen years. I don't know his full history, but I'd assume that even from a younger age, like pre-adulthood, he was probably, in Cuba in a very structured training environment where they are probably doing some enhancement type things to
Yeah.
make the best of their athletes. And um, I think even on Joe Rogan or something, I think he admitted that there was a time where he did performance enhancing drugs
Mm.
uh, early in his wrestling career. Um, but it is pretty remarkable that he's as old as he is and still competing at such a high level like he is.
Yeah.
I believe USADA is doing a good thing and
Mm.
doing a good job with what they're doing. Some people probably have slipped through the cracks,
For sure.
especially as of recently. Things evolve. It kind of seemed like right when USADA came on board, you saw all these people like plummet, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the Johnny Hendricks and Eric
What's the
Silva
guy?
and all these people, Vitor Belfort and stuff,
Vitor
right?
Belfort. Yeah.
Even other people that you think maybe weren't on it. I mean, there's a lot of people. It's funny to see like how well they're doing, and then all of a sudden USADA comes in, and all of a sudden they just suck. But all of a sudden, then over time, it was like all of a sudden we kind of started to see those bodies again, those veiny, hard, super muscular. Like I can't. I want to still compete for a long time, but half of me too like can't wait to stop competing so I can go back to doing like bicep curls and stuff in the
Yeah.
gym. You know what I mean? Because like the MMA training, it's gonna get you really fit
Right.
and but it's gonna build you for like endurance, strength. It's gonna build you for a lot of different things, and it's not always the most aesthetic looking body. But yet, sometimes some of these guys show up to the cage and they just look like
Paulo Costa.
jacked out of their mind. And
Paulo
it's like,
Costa.
were you training for MMA or were you just doing like bench press for the last 6 weeks? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Paulo Acosta, yeah,
Yeah.
Paulo Acosta. And I don't know. It's kind of weird again. It's like I wonder if some people kind of figured out what USADA was doing
I'm sure.
and found a way around it. How did TJ Dillashaw get away with so much for so long before he got
Exactly.
caught? Like what?
Exactly.
How does that work? You know,
Do you say test them all? Test them all the way back. You
I
said that?
test everybody all the time. As
Yes,
much,
sir.
yes.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it's this isn't like a basketball game. Like we're literally trying to hurt the other person. And if you're getting such an edge on that person, whether it be like an endurance type drug or a steroid, I just think it's super fucked up.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you're literally putting that other person's health at risk because you're trying to get an edge. It's super messed up. I wish the max penalty on anyone that tests positive for stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that should be like, dude, you could kill somebody in there, man. Like
And for those supplement companies that put some little stuff in there
tainted.
and tainted on purpose, or what's going on because they want people to get results. Like say I wasn't competing anymore and I start taking this protein shake. If all of a sudden I start to get all these results after taking the protein shake, I'm going to want to keep taking it. I'm going to want to tell other people, hey, you got to try this stuff, it works great. And the average person never gets tested, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who gets drug tested for supplements? No one,
Exactly.
right? So it's like,
Exactly.
well, why not put this little bit of stuff in there? Well, then now you have all these fighters that are getting popped, and they're like, seriously, like I didn't do anything wrong. I have an unopened package of protein from this company, and it gets tested, and it shows that it's tainted with bad shit. That's super messed up too. I hope those companies face the harshest
100%.
penalties as well.
Do you think that like UFC or like USADA should just have their own supplements? Like, do you
I think
think?
so. I think
Yeah.
so. I agree. I think they should come out with their own supplements with their own testing protocol because us as fighters all the time too, like we're not, most of us aren't, like big multimillionaires with these Nike deals and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? So any little free gear or free stuff that we can get, we're going to use our social media platform or whatever. We're going to try to, show some love back to these people. But it's hard to say no to people that are, hey, how about I'll send you 10 kegs of protein and BCAAs and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, sure, man, thanks. And I don't have $10 million in my account to just give that stuff away and then go and use, the expensive stuff that I prefer. Like if
Right.
someone sends me, 10 jugs of protein, well, like that's going to be my protein for the next,
Exactly.
and like now this asshole, tainted it with whatever, and now I face the consequences. That's messed up.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I think, especially after the TJ fight, it's kind of like gone down to talk about USADA and everything. I think that there needs to be a real big change in judging and steroid testing. Because even like the testing, I think everybody should get tested all the time. But they're like, you hear like, man, they woke me up 6 in the morning to test me the day before my fight or something like that. And, I felt sluggish all day, something like that. Like I think that there needs to be a real understanding about the lifestyle of a fighter, and just like I think that these problems just can't be solved that easily. It's like the judging issue. It's like who's gonna judge? Like fighters can't judge because there might be a bias. Like let's say like I don't know Daniel Cormier. Luke Rockhold's fighting Cormier is the judge. Like you can't go by that, right? And
Yeah,
like
no, I mean there are things in place to kind of try to prevent that. I know around in the state of Wisconsin, like all the judges and stuff, like you can't be affiliated with anyone or any past kind of like connection or anything like that. But I don't know.
I think there should
There's
be more
always things that
judges.
can happen. People, and Um, hey, one of the things too with USADA, like with this whole the whole Fight Island thing, like I was there, I didn't see any USADA people. Like I know
Really?
Montel didn't get tested that whole week, like because they're giving everybody, they're flying everybody out there, like I, I don't know. I haven't seen any USADA people since like COVID happened and they started doing fights again. So
Really?
I
Because
don't
I
know.
know Alex Volkanovski was like before the Max fight, I did bad because or like I didn't put on the best performance because you started testing me the morning of or something like
Oh,
that.
it did. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. Like 6 in the morning,
Okay,
like they woke me up and I was like, that must suck, but
yeah.
crazy, crazy.
That's good to hear because I was wondering. I was like, I didn't see any USADA people around like all week, and I'm like, this is kind of messed up. Like, if anybody would cheat, this would be the time to do it. But
Exactly, exactly. You want that edge because you feel like you didn't get a proper training camp and everything, right?
exactly.
Man, I don't want to take too much of your time, so I have like this one final thing just for the clout. I need to ask you like, who do you think's gonna win in the next couple fights? Got to get my name up there. Got to get my podcast up there. So,
Although,
DC
man, I got killed and I got killed recently.
for what?
So I don't know if you would take my word on it, man. MMA is just so hard to
Oh yeah,
predict.
oh
I
yeah,
thought for sure. Well, it was a lot of the Bellator fights. I thought for sure Curtis Millender was going to beat Hamasi, and he got beat. And then I thought Matt Mitrione for sure was going to beat Tim Johnson, and he got
you got
beat.
me.
Who else did I? Man, I got
That's
killed last
perfect.
week.
Whatever you
Last
say,
week
we'll just
I
go
got
with the
killed.
opposite.
Yeah, do that. Do
Let's do
that.
that. All right, let's do it
Okay.
for all the viewers. Just
Yeah.
just remember that. Whoever wants to bet, here it is. DC Stipe 3.
Tough. I think, DC won the first fight. I feel like he was winning the majority of the second fight. I
Yeah,
was literally screaming at the TV for DC to please start going to the body. And then all of a sudden, Stipe started doing it, and I was like, uh oh. And then sure enough, like he got the finish. But I
yeah,
think I think DC's like has his number more than Stipe does. The
I
thing
think
that
so.
concerns me, the thing that concerns me is his age. Like if you haven't fought in a year but you're 30 years old, it's whatever. If you haven't fought in a year and you're 41, uh,
And
I
DC
don't
gets
know.
big, man. He gets big. You see him at the commentary box.
Yeah,
Puts on some weight, man.
I know.
But
And
okay,
and
so
you
who do you?
think that Stipe just doesn't. I'm gonna go with Stipe.
All right, so DC for the viewers.
There you go. Yeah,
All right. What about what's next? We got Izzy Costa.
man. at first I wasn't really on board with Adesanya, and then he just kind of he keeps getting better and better with the whole MMA style.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna even though Costa he proved that he can like go 5 rounds hard. I think I'm gonna go with Adesanya.
Okay. Habib Gaethje. That's a crazy fight.
Crazy fight. This comes down to if Gaethje gets roped into one of his on stand and bang and whatever kind of fights. He was hitting with Tony and then getting off that center line and moving his feet, moving his head. If he sticks to that, he could beat Khabib. But I can't go against Khabib, man. I mean, come on, he's 28-0, going for
Yeah,
29. You
I
can't
think
forget
that
about that body of work he's put in. I'm going with Khabib.
exactly. Yeah, me
I'm
too. I
going
think
with
so,
Khabib.
man. That's my guy. That's my guy, you know. But like I think that the Tony fight was good, but I always thought that a guy like Dustin Poirier or Gaethje could just beat Tony. Like Tony makes too many mistakes like for a pure boxer could like look at Dustin, man. His boxing is like amazing. Like I'm a boxing guy,
It is
amazing.
great. I never thought he had a chance against Khabib because he backs up a lot. He
Yeah.
he he does. If you look at like the cage, and where he spends most of his time, it's around the outside, and
Yeah.
it's just that's Khabib's going to put you against the fence, and he's going to grind on you until he gets you down.
But I was talking about Tony. Like
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. I
yeah.
get it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I
Oh,
see
yeah.
what you mean.
Tony is a yeah. I think Dustin is a good matchup for Tony, but I didn't think it was a good matchup for Khabib.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that people aren't really talking about is like Gaethje, like the guy is clearly like he puts himself in the zone, like really puts himself in the zone. Like he's ready to die in there. And you can't really say that about a lot of fighters, but those like he like what Trevor Whitman asked him like or he asked Trevor Whitman, is this 2 or 3? And he's like, it's 5. Like he's this guy's crazy, right? So my thing is that yes, I think you can sustain that in a stand-up fight, right? But when you get
Mhm.
put on the floor and like just held there and it's like, oh, I can't move. You start looking up at the time. You start thinking like you puts you out of that zone, man. Like you saw
And and
Dustin.
and he lands some vicious ground and pound, man.
Oh, it's nasty.
Yeah.
It's nasty. But I just think that mental edge that people are giving to Gaethje, I think that like you stay in one place for too long and you're gonna start thinking, oh man, I gotta get up now. You know, like time, I got this much time left, and then you're in the moment. Gaethje's like he's in the zone, but he's not like thinking about what am I gonna do next. It's all reactive for him, right? And he's excellent. But the mental thing, like that, man, I gotta do something right now, but I can't like that could have a toll on Gaethje because he's never been there before. He scrambles, gets back up, and just hits you, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I don't even know what's coming up after that. I think that's all we got. I think I'll get enough clout from the from the Habib DC. Like those guys click, they always click. So, but yeah,
Well,
but hey man, I appreciate you. This is awesome. I gotta, hopefully in the future, man, like we gotta do this again because I have
anytime.
so many questions that I still
Yeah.
have. Like I just need to think of them. It's awesome, bro. Like a
Anytime, man.
well-rounded.
Anytime.
I appreciate you, man.
No
All right.
problem.